Hi, folks. I'm Jamie Hiles,
I'm Lydia Judy.
I'm Derek Master.
and this is Screen Bloody Movies, the podcast where we review a horror movie each week. We go over the horror news, and Derek mixes pleasure in pain.
Only when I eat Indian.
Yeah. If you eat spicy, it happens. That's true. Yeah. If you go on some of those hot ones, get some of those hot one sauce, you're in some trouble. How are you guys doing this afternoon, evening, or night, whatever it is?
Doing
well,
good.
Truman. Doing pretty good. Sorry, lady.
Good.
Got you off there.
No, you're fine. That was funny. Worth it.
Yeah. Derek gets one every couple episodes. Great. I'm glad you guys are doing great because we have a lot to talk about tonight. This is episode 2 of season 5, guys. Half a decade of bloody movies. But, so tonight, speaking of bloody movies, we got a bloody one for you. We're going to talk about Clive Barker's 1987 hit film, Hellraiser. But, before we get into all that good stuff, I have a wee bit of horror news. You guys want to hear it?
Yes, please.
Okay. I appreciate that kindness. Okay. We'll start with a little bit of sad news. Just yesterday, I believe it was, Olivia Hussey, the star of Bob Clark's classic Black Christmas, passed away at the age of 73.
Oh my
On December
God.
27th, she did. She obviously was in that. She's in the great 68 adaptation of Romeo and Juliet that we all watched in school. Remember that?
Yes.
Absolutely. And tons of Psycho 4, The Cat and the Canary. She is in the It miniseries as Bill's wife.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Long career. So R.I.P. Miss Hussey, you were one of the original Scream Queens, actually. That's crazy, isn't it? Like, you don't think about all the stuff she's in until you start to mention it, and then they
Yeah.
all kind of start to come. You're like, oh yeah, she was in that.
Also, I cannot picture her like older than what she was in It, probably. Like she's like forever
Yeah.
young in my mind.
Yeah. Yep, I know exactly what you mean. I thought the same thing. I was like, she was 73?
Yeah.
Great life. Derek, this is for you. I just can't wait to hear your reaction on this. Oh my God. So, they're doing a new Masters of the Universe movie, right?
Yeah.
It has a release date of June 5th, 2026. With Travis Knight on board to direct. It has just been announced that Jared Leto is going to play Skeletor.
Oh no. Oh no.
I mean, he is a good actor. As long as he doesn't channel his inner Joker, I think we'll be all right. When you started that sentence, I thought you were going to say he's going to play He-Man. I'm like, how in the fuck is he going to play He-Man? But that's actually pretty cool. That's interesting. I wonder who's going to play. Do they have the casting announcements?
I have the cast. I do. Yes. So Sam C. Wilson is playing Trapjaw. Hafthor Bornson is playing Goatman. Kojo Ada is Triclops. And Evil Lynn, Skeletor's second in command, is played by Alison Brie.
Nice.
Also, He-Man is going to be played by Nicholas Galizatine. I don't know. I don't know this guy. Nicholas Galitzine. Let's look him up. I'm looking him up right now, so you guys don't have to.
Okay, good, because I was like, oh no, I gotta look something up.
No. He is. Oh, this is He-Man. This is interesting. This guy.
He looks
Don't know about
familiar.
it.
I mean,
He's so pretty,
he'll be an
you
okay
know?
Adam. Yeah, he'll be an okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're gonna have
Oh,
to
no.
enhance his physique or like
Okay.
cast somebody else as the actual.
As He-Man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I see what movie he was from. That
What movie's
I
that?
recognize it. He was in
Cinderella?
that one. Cinderella. No. Well, maybe I don't know what it was called. I see with Anne Hathaway in that like romantic movie. I don't watch
Yeah.
romantic movies, guys.
The
Sorry.
idea of you.
Yeah.
Is that what it is? Derek, how do you know
Mhm.
that?
I'm looking at the IMDb.
Oh, okay. I thought you just were a fan.
I mean, it seemed like
I
it was a
like
big hit, but
romantic movies, but
That yeah, that is kind of weird, right?
I could see it though, him like buffed up maybe a little bit and like, you know, with some
Maybe.
grease on him or something, you know, make him
Oh
look.
no, I mean, to be perfectly honest, Dolph Lundgren was fucking perfectly cast as He-Man in the He-Man movie.
Yeah,
he
he
was
was.
perfectly cast. I mean, motherfucker looked like He-Man. And Frank Langella was perfectly cast as Skeletor as well, to be honest. The movie just was shit. It was just dog shit. But also
Who would
Idris
you
Elba
cast?
is playing Duncan, Man at Arms.
I think it would be easier to descale somebody like they did Chris why can't I think of his last name? In Captain
Hemsworth?
America? No.
Oh, Chris Evans. Yeah.
Chris Evans.
Yeah.
So like where they descaled him and then he like his actual physique was as Captain America, as opposed to trying to scale somebody up. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I would have
Yeah.
picked an actor that was buff as fuck, like Chris Hemsworth, not him, but you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And then like just for the Adam scenes, like scaled him down a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I'm
Yeah.
sure he's had time to like work out a
Buff
I'm
bit.
not
up,
gonna get that
yeah.
buff. Not gonna get that buff.
Not to be He-Man. I don't know.
Well,
We'll
I mean,
see.
Chris Evans did.
He did, but
Yeah,
he already...
Like, he wasn't like the buffest guy in the world, you know, back in the day before the superhero movies started coming out.
Let's see this guy with any type of muscle.
I was gonna
Maybe
ask,
he'll surprise us.
who would
Yeah.
you cast as Skeletor, like if you could pick anyone today?
Anybody ever? Or anybody do
I
they
was
have
gonna-
to be living?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
Like that could possibly
Well-
be in this movie.
Yeah, fucking Jim
I mean,
Carrey.
Jim Carrey would be a pretty good fucking Skeletor,
I
actually.
know he would.
He would fucking kill it. I was gonna say like Robert Englund would be a pretty good fucking Skeletor as well. But yeah, Jim Carrey would kill that. You're right, Derek. Jim Carrey would kill that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good choice. Jim Carrey can do
Why-
anything.
That's true. And why do they keep putting, I mean, Jared Leto in these like superhero movies?
They're trying to make it work, man.
They're like trying so hard to
They're
make it
0 for
work.
2.
It's just
They're 0
not
for 2.
working. He's such a
Dude,
good actor, and it's like making him look like a joke.
Morbius is just a fucking on another level.
I haven't
So,
seen that yet.
I've seen it. Yeah. So
I do kind of
You
want to
guys-
watch it, but I know
You've got to watch it.
I know I'm gonna be let down a little bit.
Not if you curb your expectations into dog shit. You'll be fine.
Okay, yeah, exactly.
All right. Next. So Lee Cronin, who last directed Evil Dead Rise. His next movie is The Mummy. He's got a Mummy movie coming out, and it has a release date of April 17th, 2026. It says this will be unlike any Mummy movie you've ever laid eyeballs on before. So
talking
we don't know a lot. I mean, he did deliver with Evil Dead Rise. I mean, that movie was
Yeah,
a roller coaster ride of
I
fun. So
I don't think it would be hard to do a Mummy movie. Like, I don't think that's even a lot to live up to because there's only like so many. You know, it's not like there's always a Mummy movie coming out.
yeah,
There's like, I mean, we have like the Mummy series that, you know, Brendan Fraser and that's
Yeah,
like,
and then Universal's mummy movies in the
and then
50s,
the
or in
Universal,
the
yeah.
40s, and then then you have the Hammer one in the 50s. But yeah, it's not
Which
like,
are
I
all
mean, there's
completely
always
different.
there's a bunch of low budget shitty mummy movies, but you always get those.
I like a
I'll
mummy.
watch it. I like Lee Cronin. I think he did a great job on Evil Dead Rise. So I'm interested to see what he's going to be doing with this. It's obviously going to be a more horror bent take instead of a more adventure take. It's from New Line Cinema, so it's not Universal. I would, however, like to see Brendan Fraser return for one last mummy ride, wouldn't you guys?
Oh yeah, absolutely. If he was just like in this one somehow, that would be cool. Like a really
100%
scary
have
one.
him cameo, even if he wasn't like a lot like.
Well, if it was in the same universe, if it was like I said, Universal and not New Line, then maybe.
Yeah.
So, Stranger Things 5 has wrapped production.
Oh dang!
So we are getting the end of Stranger Things, at the end of next year. So that's been a long journey.
Yeah.
I still have to finish the last episode of the last season.
Dude, the last episode?
Yeah, I was like right in the middle of it when I was sick for a day, and then I didn't go back.
How could you not have watched it by now?
It's kind of bittersweet. It's bittersweet to see to have this happen. I mean, like all the seasons have been good, but that first season is still the best. Like that first season's untouched.
Dude, it was magical, man. It was
really
such a nostalgic.
Yeah.
Like transporting you back in time to when you were a kid watching something from the fucking 80s. It was glorious. I loved it.
I binge watched that when it first came because people were talking about it. I hadn't seen it yet, and they're like, "You haven't watched it?" I was like, "No, I haven't gotten." They're like, "You will love it. It's like right up your alley. It's perfect. You will love it. It's perfectly made for you." And I was like, "Meh, I'll get to it." So I watched the first episode, and I was like, "Oh, okay." I guess they weren't kidding.
Yeah.
Flew through that season. I was like home from work, and I just was Stranger Things every night. I'm like, oh my god. So yeah, like I said, the other seasons are good. Season 2 is really good. 3 and 4 are good, but season 1 is just like the goat. So let's see if they go out on a high note.
I really liked 4 a lot. Like 1 and
4 is really great. Yeah,
1 and 4 stand out.
I mean, there's some great bits in those other seasons too. Season 2, what I really do love is that's when we get the Ghostbusters, but we also get like the, Steve's character arc happens in season 2.
Yeah.
Where he goes from being a bully in season 1 to being, the hero and like the protector of the boys. I loved that so much. Yeah. That's when Steve became my favorite character because in season 1, my favorite character was, of course, Hopper. Duh. But I was like, Steve's the coolest. And then finally, guys, I got one last bit of horror news. I saved the best for last. Ready? New Anaconda movie starring Paul Rudd and Jack Black is releasing Christmas of 2025.
Well, I was super disappointed until the last part of that. Paul Rudd and Jack Black are in an Anaconda movie?
Yes! Releasing on December 25th, 2025. According to sources, the new story involves a group of friends facing midlife crisis who are remaking their favorite movie from their youth. So they're remaking Anaconda. They head to the rainforest only to find themselves in a fight for their lives against natural disasters, giant snakes, and violent criminals. Oh my god.
So
this is going to be incredible.
I'm getting a Tropic Thunder vibe.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. You had me at the second part of that because the first part I was definitely like, okay.
Dude, I'm not going to lie. Stoked for this. We'll definitely watch it.
Yeah,
definitely watch it.
Man.
It's going to be big.
Sounds hilarious.
Coming out on Christmas. Like, it's got to be big if it's coming out on Christmas.
That's the fact that they're trying to remake Anaconda is really funny. That's
That
like
is funny.
that's the way in to do the Anaconda, to do a new Anaconda movie is pretty spectacular.
The best part about that too is like Anaconda does not hold up at all.
We'll find out when we do it on this show, maybe next
Yes.
week.
Oh, maybe.
Stay tuned.
It's
Stay
your
tuned
pick.
to the end of the episode. It is my pick. I have the power. That's a little throwback to He-Man
Whatever.
for
I
you,
would
Derek.
watch Bad Milo Butt Monster any day of the week before I'd watch Anaconda willingly.
Nah. I had a good time with Anaconda when I was a kid. We'll see how that one holds
Yeah,
up
me
when we do
too.
it.
That's what I was gonna get at. It's like it was
Yeah.
such a big deal at the time. Like as a
It was.
kid, you're like, this is
It's a
the
huge
coolest
movie. Huge
Yeah.
movie when it came out. Maybe not didn't blow up the box office to like, astronomical numbers, but it did well and enough to spawn sequels and shit.
Yep.
It didn't hurt that it had J-Lo looking hot AF. So, and John Voight doing a fucking weird accent.
Yeah. It's a lot of things. A lot
Am I
of things.
frozen?
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
frozen.
Yeah, I thought so.
Let it
I
happen.
didn't want
It
to.
did that.
I didn't want to tell you, but yeah, you're
It did that
frozen.
stupid thing it does sometimes. There we go. It's fixed. There we go. All right. Any rate, let me make sure that this is still recording. Yep, we're good. All right. So here we go. That wraps up the horror news. Now, guys, picture it. It's 1987. You just got back from your friend's house after doing some wicked blow. And they pop out a VHS tape. They're like, hey, what sights I'm going to have you behold. You pop in the VHS tape. It was probably more like 88, 89 at this point. But anyway, just go with me. You pop in this VHS tape, and then they show you Hellraiser. In your mind, because, like I said, you've done a bunch of wicked blow. So your mind is blown. Guys, tell me your memories on Hellraiser. Derek, this is obviously not the first time you've seen Hellraiser.
It's not. Probably is akin to, because it's been a while. Like, I haven't seen this movie since like the 90s. So I remember watching this movie with one of my stepdads.
Like, he's one of your stepdads. I'm in the
With
same
a
camp. It's
stepdad.
fine.
With one of my stepdads, and yeah, I think that it was. So when my mom and him broke up, we were like, we would go over and stay the night with him at his friend's house, and his friend had cockroaches. So fun times there. But anyway, so I'm sure I think he brought me, like, took me over there, and I slept on the couch. But like, we watched this movie. I was way too fucking young to watch this movie when I was shown it, for sure. But yeah, I haven't seen this movie in a long time.
Lydia, how about you?
Okay, so my memory was kind of when I was probably in like middle school, high school. I'm gonna say more towards high school. I can't remember what grade or anything, but I was home alone during the day. I don't feel like I was sick, because I probably wouldn't have put this on if I was sick home from school. So I don't know what the situation even was. But I remember just being like, exploring a lot of different horror movies at the time. And I was like, Hellraiser, that sounds like a good scary one. I haven't seen that, but I've seen, the infamous Pinhead that everybody knows about. So I put it on, and I feel like I was too young to watch it also, because I was very uncomfortable, didn't really like it, didn't really get it. And up until this day, I couldn't have told you what the plot was at all. So that's my memory.
Yeah, mine is similar to yours, Derek. I didn't watch it with one of my stepdads, though. I think I watched it with, I don't know who, maybe at an uncle's house or something like that, But I remember it maybe at Justin's house. I remember being way too young, in my like single digit years, and I watched this movie.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh!
And like I would get my eyes covered when boobs were shown, which there's not a lot. There's only like one boob that you see. But I remember just, it being like, I didn't understand it. I didn't know what was going on. I just knew that it was scary, that pinheads scared me. And that was kind of it. And then as I got older, it just was like, it's kind of a grimy movie. Like the kind of, what's going on in it and stuff. It just kind of is. So it's not one that's in heavy rotation for me. I did watch this, I think maybe last year or so, or the year before. I just hadn't watched it in a while. It was on Shudder, so I gave it a watch. But, so this time I was watching it more to pay attention to it, to critique it. And I got to say, some of my things have changed on it as far as what I felt like the movie was, because actually I think it's really well shot. And there's some cheesiness, of course. It's 1987, but there's also some like really like cool directorial flourishes, and I'm like, good job, Clive. I like some of that stuff. So let's get into this bad boy.
Yeah, I want to add a little bit to that. So I was kind of dreading watching this movie only because of how gritty and dark and like it's kind of, I mean, there were parts of it that were pretty gory, but like and watching it, I was like, actually it's not as bad as like I thought it was going to be. So that's just, your memories from being a kid and watching it and probably being scarred and needing therapy. But
yeah.
Also, this movie was had a budget of about €1 million, and it grossed worldwide almost 15 million. So
yeah,
it performed well.
Yeah, it was a hit. Definitely a hit, and it was kind of at the zeitgeist. Clive Barker was really popular with his novels. And so this was kind of his arrival. This is a directorial debut, by the way, this movie. So he wrote it based off of his own, his own work. And yeah, so let's get into it. So let's first talk about like I think the beginning is a good place to start, like you always want to, Derek, because I think the opening to this guy is pretty good. It kind of sets you into like kind of what you're getting into. What do you guys think?
Yeah,
I agree. It's also like, man, the fingernails of both those characters at the beginning gross me the F out.
Yes, they're so dirty.
Yeah,
there's some dirt dirty caked up in there under those nails.
Yeah, his was like, yeah, it was like inch deep, an inch like high on his fingernails. And I was like, oh,
yeah,
that's nasty.
He was gardening earlier, probably.
Yeah. So we get that whole bit, of we find out that this box happens, and we don't really see what happens necessarily. We just chains come out. We see him pierce the skin. We hear all the stuff, and then we see Pinhead like picking up his face, bits of his face and stuff. Yeah. And we get our first shot of like the Cenobites, which, guys, I still got to say, look fucking amazing, right?
Because it was practical, man. Like, they still look fucking terrifying.
Agreed.
They look amazing. Love it.
Great, brilliant designs for all of them. Like,
and they're just so unique. Like each of them they're just so unique in the way that they look. And some of them look humanoid. Some of them don't kind of look humanoid. They look like, morbid.
Like a worm,
human. You know what I mean? Yeah, like the one.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, Butterball. Butterball. Yeah, that's Butterball.
Oh,
yeah.
That's what I've been calling. That's what I've been calling my puppy lately.
Well, that's what Butterball is.
And he ate a whole stick of butter off the table.
Oh my god!
When I was making cookies.
About that?
I was like, "Come here, Butterball."
And then, yeah, I think Chatter looks amazing too. The dude with the teeth deck.
Yeah, they all look really cool. But Pinhead looks awesome.
Well, yeah, he's photographed wonderfully. The backlighting of him, the way he like his costuming, he looks incredible.
the detail of all the lines, like between all the pins in his face, just looks so cool.
Yeah, it's a great design. Pinhead is I mean, he's an icon for a reason. It's because he
Yes.
just looked
Yeah.
amazing.
You know, the thing that I want to note here is that as iconic as the character is, and the fact that he's on the cover, and like while they play a crucial role, they don't have a lot of screen time, but the screen time that they
No.
have it's impactful.
Super effective. Yeah. Yeah, they don't have a lot of screen
Mhm.
time. We see him at the beginning and then a bit in the middle, and then the third act is when we see him the most. But they really are just sparingly used because they're not the real monsters, right? The real monster of the movie
Right.
is Frank. Frank and Julia are the real monsters. So let's talk about Frank. Let's talk about the cast. Let's talk about Frank. I'm glad that Freddie Mercury wasn't working that day, so he's available to shoot Hellraiser.
Guy didn't look like Freddie Mercury.
he has some Freddie Mercury vibes going on. He was just going Radio Gaga over her.
Yeah. That was just everyone back in that day, you know. Everyone just tried to look like Freddie Mercury.
Yeah, because he was the coolest. Why wouldn't you? So yeah, Frank, you know, is obviously an awful asshole. Just for as soon as we meet him, we know he's bad. And then you know that Julia and what's the father's name?
Larry,
that's it.
Yeah.
Yep. You know, Julia and Larry are unhappy from the first scene we see them too. That they're going through some stuff.
Yeah.
And they're well cast as well. Julia. So what do you guys think about Julia being like this femme fatale that's like irresistible to men?
I think I don't know if I like it. It's fine. I think she plays it really well. But I remember sorry,
go ahead, Lydia. Sorry, I didn't mean. Nope, I should have interrupted.
I remember not liking her very much, and I don't know if it's because she's like a bad guy or just the casting choice. I don't really know what it is, but I was like, ew, this lady is driving me crazy. I liked her more in this watch, though, honestly.
What say you, Derek?
So you're talking about like her ability to lure men back to the house? I mean, the men that she had targeted
would definitely jump at the stretch. Yeah, jump at the chance.
And she's very pretty.
Yeah. But she's got that 80s hair going on.
I mean,
show.
Yeah.
It's like,
dude, yellow blouse with the black blazer and the black beaded necklace,
sunglasses,
big sunglasses, and the big eyeshadow,
and the big star earrings.
Oh, those star earrings, dude!
Horrible.
So cool, so cool. Love it.
Yeah.
I was I saw there's a scene where she like puts that necklace on, and I was like, let me get my murder necklace on.
No, she's good. She's good. It is funny that's like, you know, I mean, that would, I guess, be the best way to like get victims, right? Is to like just pretend like you're gonna sleep with them. But these guys are just so horny and stupid. They're like, oh yeah, sure, I'll go up into your fucking creepy attic.
Yeah.
What are you actually talking about?
They don't know it's an attic until they walk in there and it's bare, and by then it's too late. She's already got you in her web with a hammer. Then you're fucked.
Yep. It's pretty scary too, because the one guy, like, you know, is like, you're not gonna change your mind, are you? Like, gets mad at her for a second, and you're like, oh no, like this. You almost are like, all right, take him to the attic already.
Yep.
Yeah,
he
gets to preserve yourself, you know.
Yeah, that one guy, my favorite is the guy that's like, "You're not expecting anyone home, are you?" I'm careful, and then we get just a shot of him getting hit in the face. Like, real careful, bro.
Not careful enough.
Not careful enough. Yeah, and so Larry is. I like that actor. He's in tons of stuff.
I do too. Yeah, I don't know what he's in, but I liked him.
think he's really good here.
Oh God, is he in a Goosebumps episode? Just
he might
maybe,
be.
I was like,
actually.
maybe that's what I recognize him from.
Oh,
No,
I've,
probably not.
I've seen him in a bunch of movies.
Oh yeah,
I didn't have
he's
time to
in-
look anybody up.
I'm looking at
he's
him
in
right now. Let's see if anything
tons of
jumps out.
films.
Yeah, he's got a long IMDb profile.
Yeah, it's Andrew
The
Robinson.
X-Files.
Ah.
Dirty
Murder, She
Harry.
Wrote.
He's a Scorpio killer in Dirty Harry. He plays the villain in Dirty Harry.
Ah.
You know, tons and tons of stuff. Yeah.
Child's Play 3.
Child's Play 3 is where he's a sergeant. That's where you know him from,
Yep.
Lydia. And your favorite Pumpkinhead 2 Blood Wings.
Nice.
Yep, he's in that.
He was in Cobra.
Yeah, he's in Cobra for sure. Yep.
Alright,
but I
stop
think
hanging
he's
off his movies.
I think he's good I think he's good in this.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's really funny sometimes. Like, I think he has like a little bit of like comedic value too, of like when he like hangs his coat up when he gets like, he's just such a normal guy. Like he hangs his coat up and like dusts the banister off first before he puts his coat on it. Like,
Dude,
this guy is so beige. Like,
yeah, one of my favorites is when they're like taking the bed up, which is our big inciting incident. They're taking the bed up and the guy asks for a beer and he goes, well, I guess I'll get it. It's not like I'm doing anything.
yeah.
And then he steps down and he gives her just a look like, we got it, man. We got it. You don't have to. You're fucking cruising for a bruising is what you're doing, Larry.
Yeah.
You're cruising for a bruising, pal. What are you doing?
It's crazy because like even though he is like the nicest guy in the movie, he still has these moments of like just that sexist undertone that just
Yeah.
I mean, it was the 80s.
I know. It's insane.
So, and then our of course our heroine of the movie is Kirsty Cotton, who is Andrew's or it's Larry's daughter. What do you guys think of Claire Higgins as Kirsty Cotton? Or I'm sorry, that was Julia. Who do you think of Ashley Lawrence as Kirsty Cotton? I think Kirsty's a cool heroine. I think she's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The movie is kind of skewed to where, you know, she's not really our heroine until like halfway through the movie, because the movie focuses mostly on the first half on Julia and Frank and Larry, I guess, by proxy. But Frank, so the blood spills happens, and we got to talk about it, guys, because when Frank resurrects is one of the fucking best special effects showcases ever, right?
Really good.
Yeah.
I was shocked, honestly. I was shocked. I was like, how did I watch this in high school and be like, just not even think anything of it, you know? And now I'm like, that was incredible. Like, why aren't we talking about this?
Yeah, it's such good work.
Lydia. The movies that I've been like, man, that movie was dog shit, and then rewatched it later after I've had an opportunity to mature. I'm like, oh my gosh, how did I miss this movie?
Yeah. Like Children of the Night.
No, that one's always been awesome. What are you talking about?
It's always been special, is what that's been. Wow. So yeah, that was that whole scene was his resurrection was they used, of course, reverse motion and stuff like that to give it like
candle wax.
They melted it off and then reversed it. So but it's such a great the resurrection's so cool. And then I love his different stages of decomposition too.
Yeah.
As he's getting more and more flesh. Recomposition, I suppose. Yeah. When those like first like initially these two like just skeleton arms, like gooey skeleton arms, just come straight up out of the floorboards, and you're just like, what is happening here? Yeah, like, it kind of looks like a spider or something. Yeah,
definitely disgusting.
Yeah, and then the fact that what it always stuck with me when he's like fleshless and Julia, like, you know, rubs his finger around her mouth. I was always like, Oh.
Eh, don't do that. You're
So
smearing your lipstick.
So they had like a tryst one night that she still thinks about, and it was like basically the best. Apparently the best dicking she ever got in her life. I guess 'cause she's like,
Jesus.
It's an interesting way to frame that. But, okay.
Yeah, she's got some issues, I think, because
yeah, obviously, yeah,
obviously, like something's going on. But it's hard to understand her point of view a
yeah.
little bit because
She's
you're like,
just
what is wrong with you?
yeah. So she like basically, I guess it was passion because her and Larry are safe, and then
Yeah.
with Frank, she had is unbridled passion.
Right.
Just all it was, unbridled passion. So it made her feel passion, I guess.
But it seemed very like abusive at the same time, though.
Oh,
Like,
well, it was because Frank's a fucking asshole.
yeah, I didn't like that.
No, it's terrible.
A scene that I really enjoyed. So whenever his hand did like drip down the blood, like there was a short scene where it cut from like the attic to underneath the floorboards, but it almost seemed like a transition of like from our world to like their world. You know what I mean? Like that transition was really cool. I
When he's
rewound
waiting,
it to
yeah.
watch it.
Yeah.
And it just like where the heart starts to beat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a really like great shot. I loved that shot.
Yeah. Yeah. Really good stuff. And then so, basically most of the movie is just murder. Like basically is their murder plot. That's what we spend a huge chunk of the movie, which when you think of Hellraiser, you're thinking Cenobites, Pinhead, all this stuff. That's not what the first movie is. It's this murder. It's this dude resurrecting himself and trying to take over his brother's family, his brother's life, which he eventually does. Because when, that scene where they go to have sex, because he hears Frank. I don't know why Frank's pounding on the fucking walls upstairs, by the way. I don't know what caused him to just go into a fucking temper tantrum. Bah! What the fuck?
The only
at
thing
him.
I can think of is before that he had told her he was starting to get like the feeling back in his like in
His
his
nerves.
body, like the nerves. So maybe it was like he was in some sort of pain. Yeah, but he was just like pacing around and then like hitting shit.
Yeah.
You're like
And so-
incognito. What are you
And
doing?
chasing those rats around too.
Yeah, so when they have that, so when
Yeah,
she's
on
trying
the
to keep
wall.
him from,
Yeah.
finding Frank and, is coming on to Larry to do it. And so they go to the bedroom to start to have sex, and Frank's in there, and he fucking has the switchblade out, and he's going to kill Larry, and she doesn't want him to kill Larry because she still, cares about him. And so he cuts a rat up, which I'm like, what the fuck? All right, whatever, you
Yeah.
freak.
I don't like that.
No, it's awful. And so that seems wild because then he's like, I don't understand. I don't understand. You're coming on to me, and first you were all over me. Now you don't want anything to do with me. You're crying. I don't. So he just storms out.
That's one of those moments I'm talking about too. Like, what the hell is that about?
Well, to be
Like,
fair, in his defense, he doesn't know what's going on. She did
but she's clearly
come on
having
to
like
him.
some kind of mental break or something. Like, to at least try to talk to her to see what's wrong. He just like blames her and like leaves.
Well, he kind of does try to earlier in the night, and because she's acting different, and then
Yeah,
she's just being weird the whole time, and he just doesn't know
Like-
what to do about it.
there are signs. Like, he did not.
Yeah,
He did not even
Tons of
try
signs.
really. Yeah, he's pretty
like when
oblivious, I guess.
when they're
really.
doing the boxing, and he's just like, I thought this used to, freak you out or whatever. And she's like, I've seen worse. Like, yeah, you smashed
Yeah.
a dude in the face with a hammer multiple times.
Yeah, exactly. And like he goes to his daughter and is like, maybe she just needs to talk.
Maybe she
Like,
needs a
you are-
friend.
You are
Why don't you come
clueless,
by
man.
one day and catch her in the act
Yeah.
and see your Uncle Frank and give him a hug?
So that's, I mean, that is there as a plot contrivance. It's there
Mhm.
to get her to the house. And so,
Yeah.
and so we get, when she thinks that she's having an affair, obviously. She sees this guy go in, she's like, oh, this is what's going on. And then she sneaks upstairs and, finds the dude like half decomposing. And Frank runs out there, walks out there, and he's like, "Oh, it's fine. It's your Uncle Frank." "Okay, fleshless man, I'll listen to you." "Okay, Uncle Frank."
Mm-mm.
Sure. And so, basically, she knows what's happening. And then we get one of the cheesier bits of the movie, which is where she grabs the box and throws it out of the window. And then Frank just goes, "No."
Yeah.
And then she just runs downstairs and I don't know where Julia was during all this.
That's a good point. Probably out looking for men.
Well, she was there. I don't know where she went. I don't know. But so she has a Lamont configuration, and we get that scene where she goes into like basically the netherworld hell, and we see like the weird fucking monster. What do you guys think of that bit?
Mm-hmm.
I was really confused by the monster. Like, what is it? I liked it though. I really liked when it shows it like kind of coming out of the dark and its eyes like adjust to the light. I was like, okay, that's really cool. But I don't know if that is one of the things, or I don't understand why she goes through the wall and it stays behind the wall. I don't know. Maybe you guys can clear that up for me.
Yeah, well, it's called an engineer, is what that monster is called. It's like some kind of fucking Clive Barker monster from the Hellbound Heart. But so that's what was chasing her.
Mm-hmm.
It's like an interdimensional being of some sort. And so, but by doing that, she summons the Cenobites. That's when we see them again for the first time. And tells her, "Hey, I know Frank Cotton. He's out. I saw him." And she's like, they're like, "Well, we need to hear it from his lips." I'm like, "Oh, okay, sure." So she goes to try to save her dad because she knows what's going on, and her dad is perfectly fine. He's alive. Or is he? Because he looks
A little rough
way
around the
fucked up,
edges.
guys. Yeah,
Mhm.
literally.
Yeah, he's kind of got some drippy seams around his face.
Yeah. So Uncle Frank has devoured her dad and used his skin. What do you guys think of this whole third act? Because I don't know how I feel about it. How do you guys feel about it?
I think it's a little long.
I think
That was
it's
my thought.
both maybe a little long and too short. Like, because like the way things
It goes along in the wrong places, maybe.
Right. Yeah, I think that's probably it. I don't hate it or anything, but it feels like it's not as impactful as it should be. We get a whole chase scene with her and Uncle Frank, which kind of feels a little unnecessary. It could have. I mean, I still go there trying to build out the suspense, and then we get the final confrontation with Pinhead and them, and we get that classic bit where the chains start ripping apart Frank's face after Frank stabs Julia, and then steals her life force to try to heal himself. So he's a real nice guy.
Yeah.
And he
That
says,
was cool.
"Nothing
I like
personal,
that.
babe." Yeah. He goes, "Nothing personal, babe."
Yeah.
And and then "Come to daddy," which is so nasty. "Come to daddy."
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
So
then
are we to assume that like she was maybe abused by him and that's why she was so scared of him all the time?
maybe, I
Like
mean,
she
I think
saw it was him and was like more than just afraid that he was like a corpse. She was already like didn't like him.
I don't know. I think it might have been that he was a fucking corpse was the biggest problem. That he just didn't have any flesh on his body.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, it could be. It could be. He's a freak, so who knows? Or she might have just heard stories that her dad told about him. Just knows that he's not a good guy because she hasn't seen him since she was a kid.
Right.
And then, what do you guys think about his demise?
After he gets ripped apart.
Yeah, his rip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked it. I thought it was a fun, disgusting scene, and it couldn't have happened to a better guy.
Yeah, it's great. We have the Jesus wept line, which is a famous line.
Yeah.
And then he's like, because he's licking his lips and all that stuff. He's like, freaking, his face is all stretched apart. And then his whole body just gets ripped into shreds as she leaves. Because Pinhead says, "This is not for your eyes." And then they decide to like still try to take her.
I mean, why not?
Well, they had a deal, I thought.
But she did
they're also
kind of-
demons.
The deal was that if she tried to trick them, that they would take her. And she kind of did try to trick them.
Oh, I guess when she thought it was their dad.
Uh-huh.
But not really. I mean,
But
they
I
double
think-
cross
yeah.
her. Yeah, they double
Yeah.
cross her. They just are
You're
like,
right.
"Oh yeah, we'll do that." Then they're like, "Oh, nope, you're coming with us. What pleasures we have to show you and shit." And here's what I think's the weak part. I mean, I don't mind the Lamont configuration, like taking him back, but it's the way it happens. This is what you're talking about. It's too long because
Yeah.
she closes it. Pinhead goes.
Yes.
Then the woman goes. Then she runs into Chatter, and he goes while the house is falling. And then Butterball gets the thing. The house falls on him. The
Mhm.
boyfriend, who is like a nothing character, comes in to save her again. He's only in
Yeah.
like 3 scenes. And then
Yep.
they run into the engineer again, who's the big bad, and we get some kind of wonky editing between them as they're like trying to get the box. Nothing movie breaking or anything, but and then she defeats him. So what do you guys think of that what do you think of that bit, Derek? Like how she defeats the Cenobites and everything.
Yeah, I think it seemed like she had to keep popping the box open
Yeah.
and closing it that was probably a little clunky. I definitely see, Lydia, where you're like it was too long, because that was just interesting. Yeah, there was a lot going on, and I thought that after she did it the first time and she zapped Pinhead and they were all gone, but no, she had to take them out one by one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
and then go ahead.
I'll come back to it, but that boyfriend, I got something to say about him.
Okay, we'll get to him. But before we do that, before we go to the actual very end of the movie, we got to talk about there's this homeless character.
Yes.
That keeps stalking Kirsty. We see him a couple different times. We see when they're walking through an alley, he stares at her, she sees him. Then we see him at the pet store that she's working at. And he's like eating bugs, crickets and shit.
Yeah.
And she tells him to get out, and he does. And then so at the very end of this, the worst editing, and this is because they ran out of money. So the house is supposed to burn down. We see it, lights on the inside of it, like it's supposed to be on fire maybe. Then we just cut to like a couple of, like an empty lot with a couple of chairs on fire and shit. It's rough. I mean, when I was a little kid, I didn't understand that was supposed to be the house burning down. I was like, did they just go to this place?
I didn't get that either from this. I thought they just went to a different place to burn the thing.
Yeah, I thought they went to the homeless field.
Yeah.
Maybe they did. Maybe they do.
I don't know.
Maybe they do. But like the house, maybe that is what's happening. But the house is flashing.
Yeah.
And so you're like, and then there's just a clunky edit to them standing with a couple of burn piles. So maybe they did just go to the homeless shelter, but it's very awkwardly edited. So I don't understand it.
Yeah. And what did you think of the laser lights coming out of the box and then you know what I'm talking about?
That's fine. That's 80s.
It was 1987.
That's
what are you gonna do?
That's the optical effects. I don't hate that. That doesn't bother me. That's fine.
Yeah. I was gonna say at times I really loved it. I was like, yeah, that's sick. But at other times I was like, this is really weird and cheesy.
yeah, it's fine. I don't hate it. But the ending, just the weird editing of it, because then the homeless guy comes, right? And he catches on fire because she throws the Lamont configuration into the fire. He catches on fire. Then we just get an abrupt cut, and he's a winged demon. They can't afford to show this winged demon flying, So we get
No.
a crane shot to act as that, which is fine. It's a pretty cool shot. And then we go into the center of the box again, how we opened. And they're sitting, the two people are sitting back at the table, and the dealer is selling the box again. What do you guys think of that ending?
Well, first of all, that winged demon looks like a dragon skeleton that you could buy at like Halloween City.
Money
I
was
like
tight.
it,
What are you gonna do?
Honestly, I was so like shocked that happened. I did not remember that at all. And I was like, that's really cool, because I was kind of waiting for that guy to do something the whole movie. So I was like, oh, he's a dragon. Like, I don't know what's so not as shocking as Christmas Evil's ending, but pretty close.
What do you think of the ending, Derek?
I mean, I thought it was fine. I didn't think too much of it, but it was fine. It was them getting their box back, and by them I mean like the evil entities, which obviously the guy at the beginning who sold the boxes.
Right.
Yeah,
And
merchant.
was he the merchant also? Like that?
I assume
I don't know.
it was.
Shapeshifter, maybe? Like, because then he takes it, and then we immediately cut back to the merchant. So I'm wondering.
So I don't know. What I do know is so yes, there's some kind of stuff that's a little wonky in it, but it's fine. I like the ending. I've always remembered that from when I was a kid. Like the skeleton, I was always like, oh, and then the shot of it flying off, and we get that shot. I always loved that as a little kid, and it's a very smart way to get around showing the demon flying away. But I love the symmetry of the ending. I love its ending where it started with a new, because I mean, conceivably, this franchise could have taken a different route. I mean, it kind of ends up taking it eventually, but could take it a different route, which each story is just a new person getting sold to Lamont configuration and their life being wrecked, which is kind of what it sets into motion by the ending. So I liked the ending. I think it's pretty fun. I like that symmetry.
Well, and I feel like there's a sense of like these people are targeted. And because at the very beginning there is a comment that is made, and like you've always been here or something like that. I forget what the actual quote is, but at the beginning it makes it seem like, oh, it's always been your destination.
Yeah, it's the people that are trying to find. Yeah, and there's these people that are trying to find the ultimate pleasure because the earthly pleasures are not enough for them. And like, so when after Frank and Julia have sex, he says that it's not enough. It's never enough.
Yeah.
And it's like, so he's just trying to find the most extreme pleasure he can get. And, that's what the Cenobites are. That's why they say they're, demons to some, angels to others. Some. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that is Hellraiser. What do you guys think? What are we thinking?
Oh man, Derek.
I'm trying to put into words. The story it's actually a pretty decent movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's well shot. There's some clunkiness to it. Part of that, I'm sure, is the budget, and part of it is the age in which it was made. Now, I am also sure that helped a lot with the practical effects, right? They didn't have to rely on something like CGI to like cut it on the cheap, because if that were to happen, I think it would diminish the quality that we got. Because some of these scenes, man, like Frank as like when he first kind of reforms, that like puddle of mucus human that he is, like, that's great.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Don't look at me." I mean, like,
you can see like where his jaw seams are like coming together. It's really gross. Yeah.
It's amazing, and that would have been ruined if it were made today, I'm sure, because it would have taken a lot. So this movie is it's a classic. it has its place in the echelon
Mhm.
of horror. The IMDb rating is a 6.9. I'm really having a hard time like figuring out where to put this movie.
Yeah, I am too.
I'm gonna give it a 7. I'm pretty in line with where it is. The IMDb rating. I think it's a solid 7. It's a good movie. I was shocked at how well I liked it.
What do you
Yeah.
think, Lydia?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think it's a 7. I definitely liked it more than what I thought I was going to. Jake didn't even want to watch this one with me. Like none of us wanted to watch this movie, which is just like, a testament to
You
like
picked it.
I know. And he was like, yeah, I don't really want to. I don't think I like that movie. I was like, you're gonna make me watch it alone?
I feel like you
So
definitely got to be in a mood to watch this movie.
yeah, and I think the conditions were right. I had the lights all dimmed and I just focused on it, and I was like, I got pretty immersed in it. So I definitely liked it more than I thought I would. There were a lot of shots that were really cool, like cinematography wise, and couldn't tell if they were accidents or on purpose, but I was like, this is nice. Like this
Yeah.
is well done. It had a memorable plot that I don't think I'll forget now that I've watched it, And I just don't know where they go from here. I'm like, should I rate it higher because maybe the other ones are terrible if we get to the rest of them?
I mean, I think this is the best of the bunch. I think it's the best
Yeah,
of the
so that's what I'm
bunch.
thinking too, but I still don't know if
I
it's
have
like
some
an
love for
8.
parts 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have some love for those two. I mean, if you
Yeah.
think it's an 8, it's an 8.
I just don't know if it's an 8. Like I'm like not like obsessed with this movie, but I do kind of have like a newfound respect for it. So
Mhm.
we'll give it a 7.5.
All right, yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to give it too, Lydia. 7.5. I mean, I do like this movie, but again, you have to be in the mood for it. It's not as dark and gross as you think.
Yeah.
When you're thinking about the movie, because it still has its moments of fun. And there's just not a lot of levity in it yet. Pinhead gets jokier, like all of them do as the series
Yeah.
progresses. But yeah, I think it's a really, really solid movie. I think it's definitely scary. It could definitely still be scary if you've never seen it, or if it catches you in the right mood, and it's definitely disturbing enough to stick with you and interesting and all those things. So yeah, I think it's a 7.5. All right, guys. Now it's time to Akinize Hellraiser. Who would Tom Atkins be? Frank? Because
Larry?
he's slinging the D around?
Right. Good point. Good point.
God. Yeah, I would say it's either him or Larry.
Yeah. What were
Larry
you going to say
died.
about the What were you going to say about the boyfriend?
Oh, dude, there was the dinner scene. She's like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
forget the actual like the line, but he
It
said
was I
something. I
can't
was like, oh
I
my
can't stand.
God.
She
Yeah.
says, if I keep drinking, I won't be able to stand up.
And he's like, well, why don't you lie down? And everybody,
Yeah,
like her
yeah.
dad is sitting at the table. They're all just like, oh, kids. Like,
Yeah.
like they don't even care. They're like, somebody's getting some tonight. Like talking about his daughter. Like,
Chase
what a
that
weird
tail,
attitude.
son. Chase
Yeah.
that tail.
Yeah. It's so strange.
That's so
It
funny.
was gross.
They should have had a little bit more development between them, I think, too.
They
Probably was in
might
the book.
have. Yeah, and it probably was in the original script too.
Because he's kind of like a throwaway character who survives, and it's strange. You're like, why didn't he die?
Mhm.
Because I guess they wanted a love interest. I guess I don't know. Because he
Yeah.
really
Like,
doesn't do anything.
are they in the sequel?
He is.
Kirsty is.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm okay with it if they're both in the next one. But if they're not, then that kid should have been, bait for those critters.
I'm gonna have to watch the second one soon because like
Yep.
I think I have more memories of that one than this one.
The second
Well,
one's the one I have the
we're gonna
most
have
memories
to-
of, and well, I mean, this one is now, but part 3 is one I always liked because it starts to get into the cheesy, kishy side of things. By part 3, and I kind of dig it, and then it falls off a fucking cliff for the next 6 movies. We're gonna have to power through those bad boys like the fucking like the Puppet Master sequels. Just they're gonna get progressively worse and worse before they get better.
Oh my gosh, there was one that Jamie and I watched where this
Yeah, it's Revelations. It's the
it was
one
Revelant.
right
Man,
before.
the pinhead in that one was fucking terrible.
And it was literally made in like several days to keep the rights to the franchise. There's an ash can copy,
Oh.
so it's not good.
Mhm.
We'll get to that one eventually. In season 10.
Yeah.
It took us 5 years to do the first one. So guys, it's my turn to pick.
Yes.
So
What have you got for us this week?
this week I was thinking of a couple of different movies to watch. You know, Anaconda's on my brain now because we talked about it.
That's a fun one.
It is fun. So that's what I'm saying. Do you want to go fun since we just did Hellraiser?
I'm all right with it.
Oh, you know what? I know what we're doing. I want to go back to. We're going to sequelize. I'm going to do a sequel. You can hit up a sequel, guys.
All right.
Next week. Let me make sure that where it's streaming first. All right, cool. So next week we are going to do 1983's Psycho 2.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. The Return of
Never
Norman
seen
Bates,
it.
guys. It is streaming on Netflix, actually. It's also available on Google Play, Fandango, YouTube, Apple TV, and Amazon Prime Video.
And Fubo.
Not Fubo, unfortunately. So this Psycho 2 is directed by Richard Franklin and written, Derek, by Tom Holland of Fright Night fame. So there you go. Psycho 2. So that's what we will watch next week. Derek, do you have a story for us?
Not that I thought of. Other than my son keeps pooping his pants. No one wants to hear about that.
Maybe we'll cut that part for the poor kid. Maybe that'll make him stop public humiliation. Who knows?
Good. You won't watch this for a very long time, but my daughter did do something yesterday that really made me smile. I got her out of the car. I don't know where we went, but anyway, we got back and I got her out of the car. And I know I say this sometimes, so I assume that she got it from me, which has its own meaning. But anyway, I put her down for her like running to the house. She turns around and looks at Clark. She goes, "All right, let's get this party started."
That's hilarious.
And I was just like, man, they really are like extensions of you. You know what I mean? Like
That's adorable.
It's
cool
funny.
thing.
All right, that's going to wrap up tonight's episode of Scream Bloody Movies. Tune in next week for Psycho 2. It'll be a fun time. I can't wait for you guys to see it. Neither of you have seen it, right?
Nope.
Good.
I
This is going to be a fun time.
at some point in my life, but I don't remember it.
Lydia, it's going to be exciting for you. You've never
I am-
seen it.
I'm
And you
excited.
love Psycho.
Love Psycho.
So next week, Psycho 2, at the time of this recording, the Indiegogo is live. So right down there in the description, you'll see a link to that. Check on that. Click on that bad boy so we can make Secret Admirer. And then we'll see you next week. I don't think there's anything else, right? That was all of our good stuff. So for Derek Lemaster and Lydia Judy, I'm Jamie Hiles. Remember, if you're going to scream bloody movies.